be a little bit crooked. Let's turn it a little bit. Bonjour, comment ça va? Je suis Co.Meadows, la Hoodoo. C'est la Magick. Vous allez bien? This is not your free weekly zodiac reading. This is a cold day in Mobile, and we're going to be talking. This is why we're all dressed like Eskimos tonight. But we're going to be talking about mental health, mental illness, mental wellness, and all of those things. If you are here, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, but more importantly, let me know that you can hear me. So I need somebody to comment, we can hear you, so that we are good to go. Yes, you can hear me. Hallelujah. Yes, indeed. So making sure that y'all project would be a really important thing. And I can hear you. Yes, we can. I can hear you clearly. Hallelujah. Wonderful. Make sure that you are sharing the video as well. And so anyways, again, now that I know that you can hear me, a little part of me still wants the mic. I know. Just a little part of me still wants the mic. I don't know. I'm just thinking to myself, like, would y'all prefer the mic or no? If you can hear us well, we'll just go ahead and begin. But if you would prefer the mic to hear us more clear or clearly, I will have to step off camera and grab it. So, what y'all want? What you want. And don't tell me you want a rude boy. Sounds good to me either way. I can hear clear. I can hear, but the mic would sound better. Oh, pardon. Now watch some type of shenanigan with the mic situation. I don't care. We just gonna take the mic out and start going. Listen, y'all know I am not good with this whole politically correct situation. It's really interesting because I'm quite diplomatic with a lot of things, but then some things come out of my mouth. You just surprised, you know what had happened. So, anyways, I'm hooking up the mic for everybody that is listening and tuning in right now, which is wonderful. Because then we don't have to project so much. And then, of course, I left my paper. So anyways, we're not going to hold y'all too long this evening. So again, bonjour. Comment ça va? Can you hear me? Much better, they say. Look at that. Look at gods and goddesses. Okay? So again, bonjour, comment ça va? Je suis Co.Meadows la Hoodoo. Ça va, mes amis? Vous allez bien? Comment allez-vous? Everyone that's here tonight. So this is your discussion panel pertaining to mental health awareness, mental illness, healing naturally, different aspects of this particular space pertaining to a large majority, a large space of mental illness and health and whatnot. So anyways, I do want to say really quickly, please make sure that you do check out the free weekly zodiac readings. There's 2 videos below. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel and comment and like if I don't choke to death. It is not contagious. It is just post-nasal situation in the back of my throat. So we are going to begin this evening just with a brief introduction of who we are so that you understand exactly where we're coming from, and then sort of, other situations and points and topics. I would like to ask each of you, if you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely subscribe, but go back and watch the videos, so if people have questions, or responding or resonating with you, you can then reach out to them and respond here.
While you're checking in.
Yes, because I don't think any of us has Superman vision to see up there to read what's going on.
You see, I got these 4 eyes.
She has 4 eyes and still can't see you. So it's a problem. So anyways, again, you know who I am. I am Queen Cole, the Hoodoo Queen of the Imperial Court of Milner Meadows de la Pound, owner of Co.Meadows CONJURE, the creators and founders of the annual Hoodoo Queen CONJURE Fest. Get your early bird tickets right away. Early bird tickets are still on sale. And the proud owners of CONJURE South, Bienvenue at CONJURE South, 2353 Airport Boulevard right here in Mobile, Alabama. So we're going to begin with our lead of the night, and let's begin.
Falcha, High Magic Leader, Arson, McLean, or McLean for those of you who prefer Anglo-Saxonation. I'm coming at this from a space of someone who has been diagnosed with a mental illness and really just speaking on some of my experiences with myself and others to help you guys out in identifying what it looks like and what you can do to help. We'll definitely be going over mental health first aid tonight.
I'm Assata de la Cruz. I am a birth worker, so I deal with postpartum depression and anxiety and mothers for work. And then I'm also a new mother myself, so I'm also going to be coming from personal experience.
Hello, I'm Ashley Reed. I am a mental health therapist and a behavior interventionist for children and adults. I'll be coming from a professional standpoint and also some personal experiences on my own.
Okay, wonderful, Merci. So we're going to start off with Arson McLean with and if you do not know, Arson McLean is a High Magic Leader, as well as affiliate and house reader here at CONJURE South, as well as Assata de la Cruz. And so you're probably going to see a lot of videos with them in it or about them or something, as time goes along. And before we get too deep in this, if you ever do come across Ms. Ashley Reed here, although she is a mental health therapist, she is also very strongly tied to Santeria, if I'm not mistaken, as well as other spiritual, traditional spiritual backgrounds and systems. So you're not just dealing with people who are coming at you from just a professional medical space. It's a very beautiful spiritual communication we'll be having as well, and maybe briefly touching on the space of misdiagnosis of spiritual gifts versus actual situations in X, Y, and Z, and A, B, and C, and you know how that situation goes down. So first and foremost, I want to ask Monsieur McLean, why is the discussion panel formed? Why was it formed, and why did you find this to be important?
Because I definitely want everyone to practice more awareness in their day-to-day and their interactions with others. You never know what someone's going through, even if they're upsetting towards you. There could be something really wrong with them, or if you're upset with someone, you could say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and that person could go and hurt themselves or maybe even hurt others because you just never know who has a mental illness, or if someone's going through a circumstantial type of space of mental illness, anxiety, depression, etc., or those who have been completely diagnosed with it. So I believe that there needs to be a lot less suffering in the world, and this panel was formed to help facilitate that and to also help inform you guys of some things that you can do whenever you experience either a bout of mental illness, or if you have one or loved ones that have one, and also informing others if you see an interaction on how to intermediate that space and prevent someone from having a breakdown.
Merci. So at this given point in time, I want each of us to, we'll start with Assata de la Cruz, to speak on behalf of your personal experiences regarding mental health, mental illness, with postpartum depression and anxiety. We actually had this discussion panel on Saturday, and before Saturday, I did not know there was a difference between postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. Like, that wasn't even a thing to me. I've only heard of postpartum depression. So I'm glad that we're having this a second go around, but you're going to learn so much from here. So she'll be speaking from that space and just give us why it is important for us to understand this space of mental illness, wellness, and all of that jazz.
There's actually not just postpartum depression and anxiety. There's a host of other issues. Like, there's also postpartum rage. Me personally, I dealt with postpartum rage and anxiety. And one of the main issues like with those is that so often we only hear about postpartum depression. So when moms are experiencing things like with terrible anxiety or being angry all the time, and they don't realize that it's related to childbirth, so they often don't get treatment for that. For me personally, my biggest issue has been postpartum anxiety. I kind of joked with them earlier about how my mom took the baby today for about 8 hours, and that's the longest I've been away from her since she's been born. And it's just kind of been one of those things where it's really hard because in our society, we've gotten so far away from what motherhood actually was meant to be, that a mother who wants to be attached to her child and wants to spend time with her and like wear her and things like that, we have started putting labels on it like postpartum anxiety, when really it's just that's how motherhood was created. So it's really important that you find, she's very opinionated about this, it's really important that you find that balance. Because for me, like I said, I teeter that line. Like, I practice attachment parenting, so I love having her literally attached to me. But then also, like, for people that were here last week saw how like someone else on the panel was holding her, and like every 2 seconds, like I was looking over and like making sure like all of her bones were still attached. So there has to be that balance, and like I really try to stress that with mothers, that like it is totally normal, despite what society tells you, to want to be with your baby. Like, it is okay to not want to leave your baby, but you still have to have that balance, and you have to have that self-care involved as well.
Merci. So the space we have, listen, Assata, you got a whole lot of words up there, okay? So make sure you go back and check them out to see what they're saying here. Because we do want to come back and respond and reply to each of you. So even if we're not being able to respond right away, which a little part of me is like, if you go live, you can watch it, and we can actually answer some of the questions. Some of them, not all of them. But I am actually coming from a space here pertaining to nouveau anxiety, new stress, new anxiety. Being that I'm in a new location with new people, not being surrounded by my relatives and the court of Milner Meadow de la Pound, the assistants that I normally would have, just a variety of things. Being in a new space has wakened this space of anxiety and stress that I did not know. And it's honestly because my life, and I have to be honest, has been quite easy. I didn't understand what was going on, and so I am here to speak on what that may look like for you today. You may be going through anxiety or stress and don't even recognize it. I thought it was a number of other things. I've had tests from here to East Buddha, okay? All medical tests, and it's like, baby, ain't nothing wrong with you but your stress, you know, and so is that thing. So I want to touch on that aspect, as well as self-esteem, self-worth, self-value, self-deservingness. Excuse me, La Mama, Petite Mère has something to say. Is that Dahlia? Would you like to?
Do you want to speak to
like,
class? To
okay. Y'all make sure y'all pay attention. This is real deal Holyfield.
She usually charges for this knowledge that she's giving y'all for free tonight.
Okay, so y'all just got a whole word. Get that, okay? A whole word. So anyways, coming from a space of self-worth, self-deservingness, self-esteem, children even that's being bullied, adults being bullied about things that's stressing them out. A really big thing for me is a lot of people who have grown through these stressful moments and anxiety, but then people don't see the new growth and they still treat you as though you haven't grown and battling that space. And I'm speaking on behalf as a spiritual worker that I have clients that come in with these problems, and also to the very, very touchy issue of mental illness versus spiritual gifts, mental illness versus spiritual abilities, and vice versa. There's a lot. Who done said something?
They were just saying that they weren't aware of postpartum depression. Thanks for sharing, and people were sharing their diagnosis.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Yes, Dahlia. Yes, all of that.
I think you guys are being brave enough to talk about your diagnosis.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were saying, that the diagnosis is so important. So a lot of people, one person started it, and then a lot of people started.
Wonderful. Well, thank y'all for being so brave. Y'all better do it, is all I got to say. Now coming from Miss Adam M. Reed. Adam, why did I say Adam? Ashley M. Reed.
Okay, so I'm coming from the professional standpoint of mental health and behavior disorders. Also, personally, I've dealt with anxiety, but right now I want to touch more on the professional part, and I'm going to turn it back over.
These are children?
And with children and adults. Now, with children, a lot of them face a lot of stigma, and that's not good, especially when they're in schools, because as soon as they get a diagnosis, every little thing that happens, they're blamed for it, and they can be dealing with people picking on them. They're frustrated, but they may have teachers who just like, oh, well, you have this disorder, so I'm not going to bother you. Just today, I've read a new client, and they have had over 80 referrals, discipline referrals, since the beginning of the school year.
80?
80. This is January. School started in August. They have received 80 discipline referrals, and it's frustrating because he's stigmatized. So I want to talk about that as well, the importance of that.
Merci, merci. So now that we have sort of touched on why we are all here and our personal experiences, I want to go back to Ashley M. Reed, mental health therapist and behavioral interventionalist. I want to make that clear. And would you please also give them your accolades and your references so you understand that she is not some Joe Smo, some back alley Sally from around the corner that we done pulled off the street that's bringing this. We do take this incredibly serious, and this is why I knew that I needed a professional point of view on this as well, beyond just our personal experience and spiritual point of views as well. So what is mental illness? And please give us a great definition for that.
Okay, so first I'm going to run my credentials. I received my bachelor's in forensic science and psychology from Jacksonville State University, Jacksonville, Alabama, not Florida. I received my master's from Arson University in Chicago, and I also went for applied behavior analysis at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. I have been in this field for 6 years. I have worked in the state of Florida, here in Alabama, and now currently in Mississippi, with children who have intellectual disabilities, behavior disorders, adults that are known as ID, intellectual disabled, substance abuse with children and adults, and also children who are in the DJJ system, that's Department of Juvenile Justice. Okay. So yes, I've been busy.
and so what is mental illness?
Mental illness, just simply break it down, it's something that affects the way you think, how you behave, how you process things. Someone who may be chemically balanced, they may become upset and they will just be like, oh, okay, well, let's rationalize this. Where someone who may have an imbalance, they may get upset because something didn't go their way. So instead of them just like, oh, better luck next time, they may try to hurt themselves. So mental illness, it can start off something very small. It can be very significant. Also, it can be situational. It does not have to just been ongoing. Typically, whereas the DSM-5, they would say 6 months, but that's generalized. But there are situations, grief, post-traumatic stress disorder, you witness something. It's not just as cut as dry as the public believe it is. So you have to just assess each person, because two people can have the exact diagnosis as the axis 5, like every single thing on their axis 5, but the way you treat them could be totally different. It's all depend on the person, and that's important to keep in mind as well. You may have ADHD, but then your son may be diagnosed as well. They can't receive the same treatment that you receive because you're two different people.
So we're having a lot of people speak on this space of medication. Now, what is the exact questions or what are we seeing here?
There have been several comments about how medication is just pushed too much, which it is pushed a lot. But I think it's important that for people that to realize that it is a chemical imbalance in your brain. So just like with anything else, you may have to take medication, and like that's
Yes.
totally okay.
So medication, as Assata has mentioned, it is some medication is okay. Not every situation you need to be medicated. However, there may come to a point, for example, this isn't mental illness, but I project, they can hear me. So, like for example, if you're sick, you can take herbal remedies, which may take a little bit longer to get in your system. But if it's severe, you may need to go ahead and get an antibiotic, or maybe, I don't know, a steroid shot to go ahead and get their immune system boosted. And once that is done, you can then begin to get the stuff out of your system and then just continue to prevent, with the herbal remedies and teas and so forth and so on. So regarding, Arson, you have something to say?
Yes, actually. Speaking on herbal remedies, I noticed that a lot of people that have mania and such, normally a lot of us find help with using cannabis. Unfortunately, because of a lot of states having prohibition against it, professionals aren't able to take that herbal remedy like they need for something, for stress or anxiety either. And some medications just don't work well with your body. I've experienced that before. I've tried several that I just can't take. You can't be manic if you're in a coma, so that's been my experience with some of those medicines.
And we will be touching on later in the panel, touching on the space of natural ways that can assist you. Let me make this very clear. So for any other medical professionals that may be watching, to all of my viewers, followers, subscribers, and all of those things, understand that we, us three, we are not medical professionals, but we do have different personal testimonies of things that have assisted us within our journey that we can focus on. But however, let me make this clear. We are I am a professional spiritual worker. Pardon. I'm a professional spiritual worker, and I'm also a professional root worker, an herbalist. So there are things that I do know that can assist, and I will be speaking on later, and so forth and so on. We will get to that. But what is your take and space on medication? And I know this could probably go a very long, so we'll have to make it short. But speaking on medication, the pushing of medication, also touch on the space of how people with so let me make this clear. Get my mouth ready. Some people with spiritual abilities, some people, not all people, some people with spiritual abilities using substances like medication or alcohol or some other vice to drown out the voices or the visions or the dreams or whatever. So I do want to touch a little bit on that, and because I want to try to stay on topic and not keep y'all here all night, once you speak on this, go right ahead into how this may look in a child, anxiety, depression, some type of mental illness, and how it can look in adults, how it could be the exact same thing, but maybe look different. And then we're going to go down the line here to tell you about what it looks like in other spaces, okay?
Now, as far as medication, I personally am not a big pusher of it, but I understand because I do know that you do need it. If you are prescribed medication, number one, when you see the medical doctor, because you're not only a psychiatrist, but your child's pediatrician or your general family doctor can prescribe medication. Number one, if it's not working or it's affecting you to the point that you're a zombie, let them know. There is no reason you should be walking around here like the Walking Dead. Period. I'm sorry, you can't. And I will go and say that no, it's supposed to help you function, not have you, someone could walk up to you and push you over and you topple over. Someone, there's all kind of things that can go in there. Someone can handle 10 milligrams and someone can go higher than that. I mean, it's just all about your body and what you can handle. Now, as far as spiritual gifts, even though I'm a professional, I'm also spiritually gifted. So I do understand sometimes when you're getting spiritual download, as some of us say, you want to shut the voices out. And I have dealt with substance abuse patients who have told me, well, I really started drinking or I started using because I got tired of picking up other people's energy. I got tired of seeing things about people. I got tired of seeing visions. They just wanted to shut down, and they got help. Then you have the people who think they're spiritually gifted, but they're really having a psychosis and they need to be on that medication. Once again, it is all individual. You can't just say one type for everybody else. Now, far as with children, we have this problem of overdiagnosing, misdiagnosing, and I've already touched on stigma. You may have a child that's in the classroom. I'm going to give you an example. He cannot get math. He hates it. He feels like the teacher won't understand. So he does whatever he can to get out of it. He knows that, okay, if I act up, I'm going to be put out. He probably does not have ODD. That's oppositional defiant disorder. He probably does not have ADHD. He probably just is bad at math. Now, you may have a child who is pretty much a saint in class, and then one day his favorite pencil is gone and he just loses. That does not mean that the child all of a sudden is just disruptive. He may have OCD. There are certain things that mimic each other, and we now have gotten to the point where, like, as soon as a child does something, you have this disorder, you have this disorder, when the child really sometimes just being a kid, and that's life. Now, as far as adults, this is one thing I have to say, and then I'm gonna pass it off. One thing we talk about is people who constantly live their life in crisis. They probably have grown up in situations where this is their norm. And then they get a diagnosis like, well, hey, you have anxiety, you have PTSD, you have OCD. And so they've been living 20, 30, 40 years thinking that this is normal. And you let them know and you get them help. So, you just have to keep that in mind. For another thing of what it could look like. You waking up one day and you just feel so gloomy. You don't know why. You don't want to go to work. You don't want to go run, and you're an avid runner. And then it just keeps building and building and building and building. That's depression. And like I said, depression can be situational. Anxiety can be situational. And I'm going to pass it because I'm going to start rambling.
Merci. So,
Actually, I did want to say something about mentioning depression. the National Council actually classifies, compares physical disorders to mental disorders in severity. And clinical depression is actually the same as being a paraplegic.
Yeah.
Literally the same equivalency. People with heart attacks, you compare people with severe anxiety to be at risk with that. So people don't see that you're sick when you're sick in up here, when something's wrong up here. If I have chicken pox, you notice it. If I'm sick, you notice. If I've got the cold, you can notice that. But you don't really often see mental illness, and so many people have learned to put on their best face and to project, and then they'll go home and at the end of the day, after a stressful day, possibly wind up hurting themselves.
Yes, and another thing too, I want to add. Sometimes what you might think is a mental illness could be something physically wrong with you. That's why it's important to talk to your doctors. Don't let them brush you aside, because I have heard so many people say, well, I went to the doctor and I told them this, and they're just, oh, you're just stressed. And then come to find out they have Lyme disease. Come to find out they have heart issues. So don't act fool, don't go to jail, but just let them know this is your health and be adamant about it.
So speaking on that, I'm going to go back to a couple of videos ago that I mentioned spiritual obedience. If you like right now, they're hearing this whole thing of if you see something, say something. If you see something within yourself or see something within your child, say something. If you really feel that something is not right, do something about it. Like I said, for me, and I'm going to go ahead and go right into I hope I don't forget one particular thing, but I may. But I'm going to go right into here. So for me, new anxiety, what that looks like. Once I move to a new space, don't know people, just starting to, find a house, open a shop, grandma transitions, all of these things, not thinking about these things truly, but apparently my mouth started to dry out. And I was like, okay, well, I'm dehydrated. I'm literally sitting on hell's front porch in Mobile, since clearly today is probably the only cold day you're ever going to see in the South, here in Mobile. But I'm like, it must be the heat. But then there was other things. Then my stomach began to hurt. And then I saw a difference in my my patterns of going to the bathroom and all kinds of things. But I'm very self-aware of my body. Like the slightest changes, I'm like, a new lash is growing today. I feel it. So how people feel energy, I'm that connected to my body. And so I clearly said there's a problem going on. I have gotten, I think, probably 10 different blood tests done. I've had different samples taken. I've had x-rays, ultrasounds, all kinds of things, so that I didn't fall into this space of it being a physical issue versus it's just stress. I wanted to rule out all possible things. So I wanted to speak on that level, understanding that some of these physical things that you are experiencing can literally be in the mind. And speaking on these spaces of how you can't see a mental illness, so you have to be careful of how you are reacting and responding to people. Example, as a spiritual worker, as a reader, as a diviner, I had a lady today call. It's been a past client. She is in a relationship or wants to be in a relationship with a man that has PTSD?
PTSD, yes.
PTSD. And she goes, he's not talking to me right now. He hasn't spoken to me in about 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't understand why. We had an argument or a conversation. It wasn't quite an argument on New Year's,
but I haven't heard from him since. Why is he treating me like crap? All of these different things. And I had to explain to her, this is an individual with PTSD that could be incredibly severe. Your conversation could have triggered something that has now put him in a position to where he does not see you the same. He does not quite feel the same. And most importantly, you have to understand that a person with a mental disorder, a mental illness, their foundation is that their reactions, their responses, their all the things start at that place. So when you're dealing with somebody with one of these ailments, if you will, just understand that it's not a normal matter of, oh, we're just having an argument and we don't understand each other. No. Now this is something that's way deep. What's incredibly deep to them is maybe very superficial to you. So be aware and understand that as well. So we want to move right along to what does it look like in postpartum situations, because clearly there's many more besides the two that I thought. Do you need to hold this or you got it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Well, with postpartum depression, some ways that can look is a lot of times as mothers, we will become so wrapped up in our children, and we will try to use that sort of as an excuse to not take care of ourselves. So it's like, oh, I can't shower today because I have to feed her, or I have to do whatever, so I have to neglect myself. And so it kind of ends up becoming this, one thing we talked about in one of my postpartum groups is that it kind of becomes this badge of honor that we become so wrapped up in like this role as motherhood that we forget that we're a whole person as well. And so that is a huge way that both depression and anxiety manifests itself. And then also with postpartum anxiety, a lot of it is you'll have not allowing your partner to help. That was a big thing personally for me, that I felt that I was the only person that could care for my child. And it became this obsession that I was so like caught up in that if anyone even like held her, they were going to drop her or they were going to whatever. So that's a big thing with anxiety, is just kind of taking it all in on yourself. Sorry.
So, coming from the place of someone who's diagnosed as borderline personality disorder, what you'll notice is, and also we have a lot of us too, I find, are also diagnosed with PTSD or CPTSD. If you say the wrong thing, that could be someone's trigger word. It could be simple. It could be egg. And I remember how, flashback of whenever I was 5 years old, I dropped the eggs and my dad beat me and broke my arm and I went up in the hospital. That didn't happen to me personally, but that is exactly what you're going to see. Especially people with BPD, do not raise your voice to them. Don't yell. Yelling and screaming and loud noises always are going to trigger us. If someone slams a door, I almost jump out of my body, or I used to have more intense reactions before I began my daily spiritual work. You'll also see if you upset them, it could be little things too. It's self-worth is really, really low in people with BPD most of the time, because this disease starts at childhood. It's a behavioral disorder. It is the way that you were raised in the environment that you grew up in. And despite privilege, even, it is 50-50 across the board. You could be rich as could be and have parents that treated you poorly or some kind of trauma in your childhood, and it could very well develop into a personality disorder, absolutely. You'll see isolation. You'll see us pushing people away when we get upset. You'll see us trying to react to the strongest to defend our space because we feel threatened. You will also see, you could see things like trichophagia, which is pulling out the hair, or onychophagia, which is whenever you chew your nails down to nothing. And I definitely have been working on not biting my nails, honestly. You could see someone break down and start slapping themselves in the face and the head and banging their head into things. That's very common too, because you could feel like your brain going like, I don't know what's going on. You're like, get it straight, like straighten yourself out. Like we're trying to like, don't know because we're freaking out. So we're trying to do anything that we can to kind of come back to normal, and it winds up being these extreme reactions that scare people or could hurt people. Some people with BPD will, because it does look different in everyone, will throw things, break stuff like that. Extreme reactions to anger. If we feel insulted, that person is going to get immediately cut out of our life, which just is not a healthy reaction whatsoever. So what we have to wind up doing is we have to retrain ourselves to not react in that way. You'll also see us going between happy, like really happy, to sad and depressed to angry, all in the space of an hour. We can switch between extreme emotions very quickly and rapidly and unpredictably.
So, Arson, I have a question. How would, then we want to sort of go down the line. What's one way that we should react to ourselves? Like if you have borderline personality disorder symptoms, or you've been diagnosed, what is one way that you should personally react in a stressful moment? And then what is one way to react to someone else if they're having an episode of breakdown? So one of each.
Right. So learning how dialectical behavioral therapy, going through some of that, you one thing that you can do is if a person's like yelling at you, getting angry at you, and you can feel yourself getting very triggered, you want to kind of just dissociate yourself from the conversation, which dissociation is pretty easy for us, and you'll notice things about them, like you just go blonde hair, black beard, blue shirt, cheap cologne, things like that. So you're not really thinking about this personal interaction. You're just kind of listing things. So listing things in your head, or taste, touch, smell, see, naming those things off in your head can really, really help. And also hyper focusing on tasks if you're dissociating, if you're coming from a dissociative point of view, which I forgot to touch on too, because most of us, we have memory problems, especially after an extreme reaction. Our brain just blanks it out, or you can tell us something, we're not going to remember it. We'll dissociate in the middle of a conversation. That's very common too, because it like really does something. Trauma can and will cause permanent, even sometimes irreversible damage to the brain.
So how can we help?
If you're
sorry
right.
for interrupting.
No,
how can we help someone else?
Well, by helping someone else, you gotta you gotta respect their space first off, and you want to make sure that you're at least an arm's length away. If they're having like an angry reaction, you need to tell them, hey, look, it's really not that big of a deal to me. I understand if I upset you, but we're just gonna focus on task and it'll be okay. Just reassurance really helps. And if they're self-harming right in front of you, you trust them. I mean, sometimes hugging them, approaching them, showing them some kind of love that they're safe, unless you're the aggressor, which I wouldn't recommend. Showing them that they're safe can really help too, if you're close to them. And asking before taking action, being calm. So as long as your voice is calm and your posture is non-threatening, normally we can calm down pretty quickly, especially if we realize that we have the disorder.
Okay, and how, if Assata, if you could let us know one thing that we should do or mothers should do on a personal level, and then also on helping out someone else.
On a personal level, one thing I realized that helped me a lot was realizing that there were little eyes on me. So I didn't want to keep feeling a certain way or like saying things about myself or being so hard on myself, and then my daughter growing up thinking that that was okay. So like having that realization like really stopped me on like dealing with like a lot of postpartum like body issues and like just the depression and stuff in general, just thinking about that like she is watching me and I don't want that type of stuff to be normalized for her. And then with things we can do for other mothers, showing up, like that was the best thing that for me when I first had my baby. I know a lot of people seem to think that, oh, I'm going to come over and like hold the baby for you so like you can get things done, but that's not helpful at all. Like I can hold my own baby. Like I need you to do the laundry, or I need you to like clean, and that was something that my friends were really, really good about. Like they would bring meals for me and my husband and my other son so we wouldn't have to cook dinner. They would clean my house. They would do things like that, because what you don't realize, especially postpartum anxiety, that you're so, like you said, consumed with your baby. Like I don't want someone else to hold my baby. So that's not something that's going to be helpful for me. That's going to make me freak out even more. So you doing things that I need to get done so I can be the one actually holding my baby.
Could you mention though, on Saturday you mentioned this space of how people made the comment, oh, this is a time that you should, sort of cherish.
One thing too is I think it would be really, really great for other mothers not to like over glorify like sort of this toxic positivity. And that, like, because I was having a very, very hard time with Dahlia, like, regressing on sleep. And so she would only sleep literally laying on top of me each night. So I was exhausted. And, like, I really felt like I was about to have a nervous breakdown because I wasn't sleeping at night. And so I reached out to a mom group, and overwhelmingly the response was, you're gonna miss this when she gets older. Like, you're gonna, like, really wish you, like, had these moments. And it's like, goodness, like, I'm not... Like, I love my child. Like, I'm very grateful that she feels safe with me in order to, like, want to lay with me and stuff. But I got to sleep. Like, I've got to, like, have these moments. And I think a lot of times within, especially, like, holistic and, like, crunchy, like, motherhood, we get so caught up and not being honest about our feelings and not realizing that, like, hey, it's okay to, like, not want to be touched. Like right now I'm really sick of her touching me, and like, but that doesn't mean that like I don't love my child. Like that doesn't mean that I'm a bad mother. It's just like I'm overtouched, and I think we need to be a lot more honest about those feelings and not so judgmental of mothers that do say those things.
So I'm going to be coming from a space of new anxiety, and I also for a brief moment before I get onto my space, let's have a quick discussion on someone made a comment about the over misdiagnosis in the Black community and brown community, how that looks. And I think that this would be a good space for you to touch on considering.
Okay. Yes, I agree. I'm probably going to get some flack for it, but I don't care.
Well, be careful. This is my channel.
Okay. But, okay, well, I'm talking about professionally.
In that case, girl, go in.
Okay. Yes, I do agree. Very interesting. Today at work, once again, boom. Yes, I do agree. I do agree that the Black and brown community is targeted. I'm an Afro-Latina woman, so I have experience when I was a child, when I was 6. They wanted to say that I had ADHD and they wanted to put me on Ritalin. And I had a teacher she was not my teacher. She walked in and she said, no, she's just not challenged enough. And this lady, Mrs. Ednez, I don't know where she is, but thank you. She put me in her class and she told them, she was just like, there's nothing wrong with this baby but bored and she need a challenge. They're quick to do that, especially with boys. As I mentioned earlier, one kid who already had 80 discipline referrals, and school started in August, and this is January. That is ridiculous. Yes, he is a young Black child.
And automatically, we're problematic.
Yeah, automatic. We're probably automatic. We have an attitude, automatic this, automatic that, and so yes, I will say that it is an issue. Um, and then speaking on, that's one reason why our community, the black and brown community, don't want to get help, period, because it's just like they're gonna throw all these things on us. So we're telling people in our community, hey, if you have issues, come get help. But then it's like, as soon as they get help, it's like, well, you dropped a bucket of pencils accidentally in the class, you're being disruptive. This one child actually got a referral because his classmate dropped his keys. He handed him the keys, and the child said, put down my keys. So he put them down and he got rolled up. So it happens. I'm not going to be here all day because I got to go to work in the morning. but it happens a lot. Also, I know you were talking about what it looks like, mental or what to do. Let's say in a situation, a child is having a meltdown in the class. So, you know, this child has been diagnosed with OCD, and it's real. What is the child being upset about? Do not go to that child and just start hammering into that child. Oh, get over it. It's just a pencil. It's just a book. It's this. That could be a comfort tool to that child. So what should you do in that situation? Hopefully you have an IEP, you have your behavior plan. Maybe there's some backup things. Example, if Johnny cannot find his favorite blue pencil, give him the red pencil as a backup. Maybe Johnny is overwhelmed because he probably needs to sit in the front of the class or on the side of the class. Do not just stigmatize these children. As far as adults, let's say an adult is having an episode because they drank while using their medication. Are they in danger to someone else or themselves? If they're just being loud, talk them down, bring them down, sit them down. Now, in the event that they're suicidal, depending on where you live, like I know in the state of Florida, they have the Baker Act. If a person, like a child or an adult, says, I am suicidal, you're supposed to shut it down. You're supposed to call the sheriff, DCF. You're not supposed to let them leave. And they're going to go for 72 hours. Alabama, they don't have that. Mississippi, they're kind of leaning towards that. But don't just instantly be like, oh, this person is nuts, I'm finna call the cops, because we know that sometimes the cops don't know how to handle the situation, especially with our black and brown men. And then we have another hashtag. So just try to assess each situation. Do not go from 0 to 75.
And also too, I think on Saturday you made the comment about the child that you have on your conscience, by not taking. So speak on that, because I think that was very powerful, and maybe it will resonate with someone to rethink maybe their reaction.
Also get to those who are mental health professionals probably watching, or those who's thinking about it.
Maybe even a parent
as well. Know your kid. Don't just know them. Even if they have, especially if they have a diagnosis, know them. Do not just think things that they're saying off top of their head for attention because they have a diagnosis. I shared this story. I'm not gonna cry. I'm gonna try not to. My first job in the field, I had this very brilliant child. He had disorders, but he was still a very brilliant child. He was quiet. He didn't talk much. He would talk to me, and he would talk to certain people, but he was just very sweet, did what he was supposed to do. And he said something that made me go, whoa. And then I was just like, what? No. And so the next day, I knew that if he did not ride the bus, he would call me to come get him. Well, he didn't call, so I automatically assumed that he was riding the bus. The bus driver walked in, And we both said at the same time, where is he? And I dropped everything and I got to his house and I got there too late. He was gone, 14 years old. And that will just be my biggest mistake I would never do, because I just should have just known, like, you know, that's not him, for him to say that. But, you know, of course, the whole... like that. Brian wouldn't, you know. Oh, I suppose baby would never do that, but baby did, and baby's gone. So, you know your people. Just know them.
And I think that's really important to say, not just as a professional, but it could be your child, it could be your husband, it could be your wife, it could be your boyfriend, it can be your girlfriend. Know who you're dealing with. I know I have not had your experience, but when I was dating somebody once, they said, I have this issue and problem. And my first reaction is, and they said that they needed to talk to somebody. My first reaction is, you don't need to go to them. You can talk to me. Well, after dating them for some while, and they did not go get the professional help that they needed, whether it was medical or whatever the situation may have been, it was clear to me, talking to me was not the answer. You know that they did need something deeper and stronger and maybe more medical, possibly. But regardless, don't dismiss a symptom. Don't dismiss if someone says, hey, I need help, or I'm thinking about doing something. Do not dismiss it and put yourself in that position of space. Speaking in regards to what should you do for yourself on a new space of anxiety, the first thing that I would ask you to do is understand. And this is easier said than done. What is happening to you is happening for you. What is happening to you is happening for you. You will grow through it so you can glow through it, okay? You will get through whatever the issue is. Give yourself the chance to what is the word called when you are adapting to a new space or place? Acclimate. Give yourself the chance to acclimate to your environments, your surroundings. Also understand that there is no such thing as failure or loss. There's lessons to be learned. And I make it very clear, like if there is something that I really want to do and I can't do it, or I have to stop doing it, or I have to, in some people's definition, quit it, I'm okay with that. You have to then begin to really, the words of prioritize what's more important, your health, because stress is one of, if not the leading killer of people, especially black men with hypertension and such. It is one of the leading killers. It literally takes years off of your life. So it's very important. It's the spirits. Don't worry. So she's like, what is that? So we have a variety of different spirits as well as different familiars that like to run around and make noises and thumps and situations in the shop. So you should come and visit and say hello. Either way it goes, so there's that. If you see somebody else that is also going through a stressful space or place or whatever, I go back to sort of what Assata mentioned. Be a community. Come together. Be there for the person is really, really important. This space of, what do you have things to say? Hold on a second. Now, she may charge for this. Dahlia dear?
Do you want to be
Do you have something to say? Huh? Oh, she is actually our little Gabby Douglas Simone Bow. We will be doing some yoga classes and things here, and she's just giving you a brief,
Just a preview.
just a
What's
preview
coming.
of the things that you can do a little bit later on. But see, she's a professional, so she's a professional. So there's that. Now I want to briefly speak on the space of. I want to mention this, then we got to get in the space of natural ways and methods, which we all will touch on briefly, and then give you some free resources and low-cost things you can do in order to assist you or someone else. The first thing is this that I want to speak on is we as, and I can only speak, I don't know, in the European American community, but I can speak in the Black American community. One of the worst things that happens to a misdiagnosis, especially if you're a spiritual being, is you're not praying hard enough. Take it to God. Or that's demonic. You are that those visions are not of God. I even, it's interesting. Somebody once told me when I was growing up that your visions, no. They said, and this is when I was a very young adolescent child, which was the dead stay dead. They don't talk to people. And if they do, they're demons.
I've heard that plenty of times before.
But I'm like, that ain't what my grandma says. And you're an idiot. So, and I'm like, and that's just what it is. So, it's really difficult too, and I know the Black community, that you do hear this, you're not praying hard enough, it's not of God and all of those things. If I'm speaking honestly, the God they're speaking of is not your God, may not be the God that you serve, and you may have not been designed by their God. You may have been designed by another divine being, and that's completely okay. And understand that just because someone else doesn't understand your light, doesn't understand your gifts or abilities, especially if they're trying to misdiagnose you or demonize you, that you are not less than, you are not worthless, you are not crazy. You may need to be in a space and environment that can help you cultivate those gifts. There's a really great place I heard in Mobile called CONJURE South at 2353 Airport Boulevard. I don't know. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes, it's like the Hoodoo Hogwarts or something. I don't know. Yes. So anyways, finding a space, a location, a sanctuary that can allow you to cultivate those gifts, abilities, develop, and even if it is a mental disorder or illness, you may be able to find some herbal remedies and things that can assist you, not cure you necessarily, but assist you. And so, see, Dahlia said, y'all ain't finna get all her free information today, baby. It ain't going down. So anyways, just understand that. But what I briefly want to do now is go into this space of more natural, more natural, holistic ways or methods that one can take. We're all going to hit on different topics. Hey, Magic Leader Arson, McLean.
Falcha, good to be back. So, speaking of utilizing techniques and everything for healing, I would say one of the biggest ones is learning to walk away. If you were stressed out, if you're stressing someone else out, whatever the case may be, learn to walk away. It's not worth your peace, and for people with BPD, I know that we will go into an episode that we will feel depressed for an entire week if we just upset one person in the smallest way, because we tend to have too much empathy versus someone with NPD who needs to learn empathy. Dated one of those. Also, I would say too that practicing, as soon as I heard about DBT therapy, dialectical behavioral training, I started watching YouTube videos on it. There are a lot of people that have BPD that talk about their personal experiences, what helps them. There are psychiatrists that come from that space too and give you some really good techniques. If you feel the need to self-harm, again, walking away, put yourself in a new environment, put yourself in a new space. For me, personally, I actually saw a comment, one of you guys, this is the same thing that I do, utilize high magic. Intoning, the intonations really help me that way too. I can be loud, but it's in a healthy way instead of, yelling and screaming and freaking out like I used to do. Because that's what was considered normal growing up. A normal reaction to everything was to immediately get extremely angry, and impatient. And so utilizing intonation, actually what it's doing is it is releasing chemicals in your brain, because you're using you're vibrating your entire body. So not only is it releasing chemicals in your brain, but doing so using breathing techniques, fire breathing techniques, and the intonation actually will release serotonin in your gut, because serotonin is produced in the stomach. Another important thing too is if you have anxiety or BPD, you're on a manic binge, you're not going to feel like eating. You're not going to eat. You don't eat. You're not eating. You're not sleeping. You are just begging to have an episode at that point. And I would say that if you're noticing that, what I do, because if you eat, you're going to get sick at your stomach anyway. What I do is I get some frozen fruit and some V8 juice, and I make myself a smoothie. You can put protein powders in it, etc. That way you're still getting your nutrients. That way you're still feeding your body and helping your mind, and learning healthy habits instead of turning to drinking or substance abuse. If you have more than 2 drinks in one sitting, that is considered borderline alcoholism. So definitely watch out for that. Do things that you enjoy that naturally release that serotonin and dopamine. Another thing too, don't cling to a person for that. You've got to train yourself to do that. Just because you have a partner, no one else is responsible for your emotional responses other than yourself. I guess the same way for every single person you're going to encounter too. If someone's being rude to you, say, you know what, you're being rude. You do not need to speak to me any longer. I am putting myself out of this environment. Do not follow me. If you know someone that has mental illness, or someone introduces themselves to you, immediately what you want to do is you want to say, hey, is there a number for your therapist, just in case? I want to have this in my phone program so I can call them. Because definitely do not call the cops unless it's like very, very severe. What they're going to do is they're going to show up to your door with their guns drawn, saying, if you don't get happy right now, I'm going to shoot you. That's actually happened to a friend of mine. And if they put you in the hospital on a hold, our healthcare system is so atrocious, like it's automatically going to cost you $10,000. My advice if that happens, don't sign the release forms. On that line right there, write void. Like, refuse to sign. Yeah, they can't make you sign.
Have Assata, please.
Yes, of course.
Speak on. I believe that you will be speaking in the space of oils and different items of that nature that one could use.
Yes, oils, and then also one thing Arson had mentioned about not putting your stock and your weight and everything all into one person. But one thing, like with motherhood and postpartum issues, I've learned the importance of finding your tribe and finding people to help support you on this journey. So not completely being invested, not completely putting your well-being and stuff in them, but it's really important to find people that are in that same space as you. And then also, I am very into holistic healing, so I work a lot with oils. Lavender is something we live by in my house with everything. Like, we give it to Dahlia to help sleep at night. Like, it helps me sleep at night. Cedarwood is also really, really good for that. Another thing that helps a lot is having a daily, some sort of physical practice. Like for me, it's yoga. So that knocks out my spiritual and my physical side. And we're actually going to start doing yoga here every Wednesday. And I'm going to be teaching that. Shameless plug. But that's really helped me on my postpartum journey, is making sure each day, like, I take that time for myself no matter what. Like, sometimes it may just be 10 minutes in the morning, and sometimes I may get like 30 minutes at night. But just setting out to do something for yourself each day, no matter how small it is.
So, as a root worker, I wanted to speak on herbs. All of these herbs are great for antidepressants as well as anxiety. First and foremost, you can make any of these herbs into incense to burn. You can make these herbs to drink as a tea. You can also cook with them. There's multiple ways that you can utilize these herbs, even to the point of making a salve or poultice and placing them in your socks to enter your body through your feet. Just a variety of those things. But anyway, so the first one will be Bliss, your sugar booger. You all right?
Got that out?
Was that a bien? No? Oui. So, the first thing is St. John's wort. The second would be thyme. The third would be lavender. The fourth would be maca, M-A-C-A. We also want to do different fruit like lemons, limes, oranges, very citrus scents are very good for clarity and to ease those type of things. As well as I want to do one more, which my mind has sort of also lemon balm, especially if you're having anxiety issues or problems for when your stomach is messed up or something. Lemon balm is really great for that. If you're having symptoms of stomach issues, for example, like I said with me, peppermint, lemon balm mixed with ginger is a really good tea to have as well. So those are different things, again, that you can burn or drink as teas or cook with in order to assist you with your issues.
Okay, one thing I like to use, I love crystals. I have them in my office. And I've also told people that come see me. So one crystal that I love is rose quartz. And it works on your heart chakra and it promotes self-love. A big one that I love is black obsidian. It blocks off negativity. I've had a pendulum with that as well. It's a great crystal. Another one that I love is citrine. That helps to release depression and fears. You can use it for some other things as well. We're not going to touch on that. You know. Moonstone. Most definitely love moonstone because I am a moon child. So that emotional stability, self-love, and last, selenite. Selenite is very great because you don't have to cleanse that. It actually can cleanse other crystals and deep peace and clears confusion. I have 2 big selenite blocks in my office.
Wonderful, thank you. So at this given point in time, we're going to briefly talk on some low-cost items and even some free resources that one could take away. So this is a shameless plug, and I'm okay with that. So here at Conjure South, actually next Sunday, we're going to do a free trial if you are local or surrounding areas for a couple of these classes. We'll be doing Witch Flow Yoga, led by the Assata here, and that will give you the ability to do yoga. Also, prenatal yoga will be provided. There are also understanding that a lot of these things are energetically triggered and issues. So we will also have Reiki healings here at Conjure South as well. There will be a variety of other of meditation services, entombment meditation, where you're using your voice and different vibrations and all of those things, which will be led by High Magic leader Arson McLean. If you are interested in feeling that your issues are more spiritual and you need your guidance with your ancestors, I will be providing your ancestral meditation, which Ashley has came and traveled with us, and always has quite an interesting trip, but always comes back with very clear information. So you have a variety of things here at Conjure South. Also, too, and I know some people don't care to hear about this, and some people don't want to even fathom the idea. But as you do know, we do have a GoFundMe account made for the grand opening of Conjure South. A large part of that is going to our apothecary, which is right now 30 herbs that's about $1,000 just to get those herbs. But these are herbs from America, here the Southeast, the West Indies, Jamaica, and Haiti that would allow you to find other natural and holistic ways to assist you with some of these issues and problems. So some places and spaces your botanica may not have, or your conjure shop may not have, that we actually have resources too. Also, we'll have some different resources and herbs from Benin. Some of you know, some of you don't know, but I am the two of my mentors in Beninois Vodun, which is the original Vodun, is Queen Mother, and Dada Ona. Who is this? So Miss Holly Logan here says, after getting a reading from Queen, that's me, I found out my visions were spiritual. Will any meditation class be online? I'm really considering the meditation classes to be online. I don't want to overcommit myself, but I do want them to be online so that you are able to participate. So more than likely, meditation classes will be like $15. And you'll have the option to take many if you want. So anyways, with all of that being said, even getting roots and herbs and stems from Africa that most people will never be able to get their hands on in their lifetime. So we're going to have a variety of those options and services here. Those will be posted hopefully by this week, because you know Queen is busy and I do a whole lot, but I really want to try to get that list out for you all so that you are aware. The free classes will be next Sunday, and then the second week of February you'll be able to take the rest of them. And so now we're going to have Assata bring us some different mom groups and different situations, and then High Magick Arson McLean will end us with some other resources that you can use pertaining to mental illness and health.
I facilitate a postpartum support group the first Sunday of every month at 5:30. So that's an option here. That goes back to the whole concept of finding that tribe. There is also a postpartum depression and anxiety group that meets in Pensacola, and it's the first Monday of every month at 10 a.m. There is also a group on Facebook called The Village that I moderate, and we set up a lot of play dates with our kids and like facilitate the postpartum groups and stuff as well. Because like I mentioned before, the hardest part of motherhood is usually the isolation and the loneliness, and that's what contributes to a lot of that depression and anxiety and rage. So being able to find that tribe of people definitely helps.
Absolutely agree on that one. And I do want to go over this with you guys because it's very important. This is actually the action plan for assisting someone who is experiencing a mental breakdown. It's ALGEE, ALGE. The first step is to assess for risk of suicide or harm. You need to be very calm with these people, very calm voice, slow speaking. Especially if someone's manic, you start talking fast, we're going to talk faster. Listen non-judgmentally. You don't sit there and tell someone, oh, you're crazy, you need help. We always are going to avoid using the C word to, in reference to mental mental health. G, give reassurance and information. Anything can help, even if it's something that helps you or has helped someone else might not help the person, but just remaining calm the entire time, okay? E, encourage appropriate professional help. If they haven't seen someone and, they're increasing in episodes, definitely say, I will go with you to the therapist. I know it's scary. I will go with you. Offer your assistance. E, encourage self-help and other support strategies, especially if they're like, I don't want to see a professional. That is absolutely their choice, unless they are just constantly, some people do need that 72-hour hold, okay? I'm not going to deny that at all. I wish that they would treat people better, though. Here, they watch you pee for some reason. And I also believe, too, coming from talking about law enforcement, I believe that every single law enforcement institution should get the National Council involved so that all police officers can get this training. I've had police officers tell me that they are going to hurt somebody if they're having it, regardless if they're having a mental breakdown or not. And that definitely made me very angry. So angry the lights flickered. But you can go to mentalhealthfirstaid.org or thenationalcouncil.org for more information on this. YouTube has a lot of good free videos. I'll also say that, if you have a passion, get involved in a passion or a hobby, especially if you have a mental illness. If you have problems with depression, just washing one coffee cup is an accomplishment, okay? So give yourself a pat on the back anytime you're able to have even small breakthroughs lead to larger ones. Speaking from personal experience. For me, sometimes too, if I'm really angry, I listen to angry music or I'll do karaoke. I can do karaoke in my living room watching YouTube and just belt out or scream out some songs. Really helps me, really helps my spirit. Another thing, and ending with this, is temple incense. If you mix frankincense and myrrh together and burn that actually really does uplift your spirit, and they're psychoactive. So they, on a small level, but they have been shown to help treat depression. So if you're having problems with that, definitely put some on a coal in your house and see how much better you feel, because they're going to be tons better, especially if you're doing breathing exercises while you're doing it. Oh yes, that was the other thing. Breathing exercise real quick for you guys. This is not my exercise, but it is one that I found very helpful. You want to sit quietly. You're going to breathe to where you can't hear your breath. Full inhalation, full exhalation. So you're going to breathe from a point just below your navel for 36 breaths. One cycle in and out counts as one breath. Okay, 36 times right below your navel. Breathe from there. You're going to envision that's where you're taking air in from. Then you're going to do right here, center of your chest. Breathe from there for 27 breaths. Then breathe from your third eye for 18 breaths. And then back below the navel for another 18 breaths. If you lose count or whatever, just keep going with it, keep rolling with it. I'd block off a good 40 minutes to do this exercise. If you can hear your breath or you have some kind of breathing problem, just do it and see if it helps. It definitely has helped me, and I certainly hope this helps you guys, and that this mental health first aid plan assists you in helping others.
Well, merci beaucoup. Thank you, Arson, again for bringing this to the forefront, for wanting to have this conversation, to have this forum, to have this discussion panel. I know that I briefly mentioned, about the GoFundMe. If you like these kind of free discussion panels, if this has been very informative to you, if any of my videos have, or even having a reading or whatever else, if you would like more things like this, because this is just for mental health, there's a whole conversation of the stigma in the Black community. There's multiple conversations that need to be had. I mean, just listening to like postpartum depression and anxiety and those things. There's even more conversations about parenting that needs to be had that can be done free. However, it cannot be done free if we do not have the funding and resources to do so. And so again, donating, I thought you could donate $1, but I was incredibly wrong. I was like, donate $1. The dollar goes a long way, like an idiot. Clearly, I didn't read the fine print. Yes. So GoFundMe makes you do $5. The GoFundMe link is on a video below, like 2 or 3 videos below. I will see if I can go and add it back to this one. Pardon, excuse me, je suis désolé. We've gotten the panel. People are saying that this definitely helped them a lot. They really have. People are subscribing. This is very high herbal tea. Arson says you can contact the National Council and see about having them host a free training course. I recall the one I took being free. So if you like this and you enjoyed this, I do apologize because I really encouraged all of us before we began this video. I was like, look, 45 minutes. Nobody wants to be online for 2 hours, and look, here we are. And I can't edit this video, but if I could, I would. But if it helped you and it has given you some insight, you feel better about yourself, wonderful. Again, I do want to encourage you and first of all, let us congratulate everyone who was here this evening that stood out and said, this is my disorder, or these are issues that I'm having. I congratulate you. That is huge. It is very courageous, and you deserve definitely a pat on the back.
I'd say I celebrate those people.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, again, we just thank you for your courage. And I also want to thank Miss Dahlia here for giving all of your kindness and your advice and wisdom and showing us your yoga skills. Oh, yes. And this is your acceptance speech. Yes. Okay. Anything else? No? Now you have nothing to say. Now you have nothing to say. So anyways, again, thank y'all so very much. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel. I thank you dearly. I have put on my herbal teas and listening. And now, you see what she does? Look, don't get the mic, then she got something to say. Anyways, here you go. I'm going to turn this off. I do apologize. Merci beaucoup, je suis vraiment désolé for it taking so long. Je suis Co.Meadows la Reine Hoodoo. I am Queen Co.Meadows, the Hoodoo Queen of the Imperial Court of Meadows de la Pound, owner of Co.Meadows CONJURE, the creators and founders of the annual Hoodoo Queen CONJURE Fest, and the proud owners of CONJURE South, 2353 Airport Boulevard, right here in Mobile. Sign up for the New Moon Community Service. Go check out the GoFundMe. All of that jazz, my babies. We'll see you later. Au revoir, à bientôt, mon chéri.